Can either of you hear me?
I can hear you. Where are you? I can't see you.
everybody, and welcome to another night with Frank Pali and Chutter Talk. We have some great guests tonight, and I would like to just do a bit of an introduction before we get started. And I wanted to just welcome people in the chat. Wayne is out there, Tina Pali's out there, we've got Mike's out there. And we've got Francis. Welcome, Francis. And Mama's gone detecting, and there's a number of other people. They haven't logged in or said hi to us yet, but please do, and just let us know you're there. And I'm just going to turn up my lights a little bit. But I wanted to just introduce two guests. We have two guests tonight, and I want to introduce one at a time. And we're going to start with Karen. And Karen was gifted a Pentax SP1000 film camera when she embarked from university travel in Europe. This gift had set Karen on a journey through Europe, Africa, Middle East, and also a lifelong quest to capture compelling images. Travels ended, university completed, and she followed by 30 years of teaching in the greater Vancouver area. And some of Karen's highlights have been traveling to Hawaii on a sailboat, 30-foot sloop. And she lived there for 2.5 years. And after closing her career teaching, she also did a short stint over in China, in Sichuan, teaching over there. And Karen was president of the Delta Photo Club and CAP Association for representative for British Columbia. And Karen also dabbles a bit into travel writing and photography, travel photography and writing. And she has won a number of awards for her images, and we've got Karen in the back. So let me just tell you about, we've got Karoline. And photography has been a lifelong passion for Karoline. Spending time in Galliano, she left photography and abundant nature and wildlife there. She just, you'll see her images from Galliano, just incredible. She also does indoor studio lighting setups. She enjoys capturing images of gymnasts, dancers, and continues to support Delta Gymnastics by donating photos of gymnasts and volunteering event photography for Delta Kids Sport. Karoline has been a past president of Delta Photo Club and continues to serve as an executive. Also a member of Tabula Rasa Photography Artists Collective. Whew, that's a mouthful to say. Karoline travels have spanned the globe. She is a freelance travel and featured writer, published in numerous newspapers, magazines. She has a Canadian Camera, Photo Life, Photography Monthly, Northwest Travels. She writes regularly for Travel Writers' Tales and Independent Travel Article Syndicate for many years. Was executive of BC Association of Travel Writers. Her photos are regularly featured on Galliano Chamber of Commerce and brochures. Without further ado, let's bring on the guests, and here we are. And I just wanted to say welcome, ladies. And you've got great resumes there, and it's just nice to see that. And I've known you guys for a long time now. Welcome, Karen. Can you hear us okay? Let me just, okay, there we go. Okay, everybody's, your sound's on now.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, yeah, welcome. Thank you.
All right, all good. Thank you, Frank.
Okay.
Happy to be here.
Okay, now, hopefully, with that intro, I didn't do too badly on that, but it's nice. I mean, I've known you, Karen, for a long time, and I've watched your photography grow as well as Karoline's. We all three of us were in the Delta Photo Club, so it was cool to see how our images have developed over the years and the avenues we have taken. But with that, I'm going to start with you, Karen. What kind of photography gear did you start with, and what do you have now?
Oh my goodness. Okay, so it was the Pentax, of course, a film camera. And I left photography for a while. I came back into it, and I had an Olympus when I traveled to Australia, like a really entry-level Olympus. And I, our mutual buddy Lori, she has a Canon, and she kind of invited me to Delta Photo Club, so I went along with her, and I ended up getting a Canon. And once I got all the lenses, the various Canon lenses that I acquired over the years, I just figured, okay, this is it. The lenses dedicate what's going to happen in terms of your camera body. So, but my latest camera is the mirrorless R6. It's a Canon R6.
Okay.
So I can use my Canon lenses with that.
Yeah.
I have an adapter for it, and it works out quite well.
Oh, good. And Karoline, how about you? Now, what did you start off years ago, and how did you transgress to where you are now with them?
Well, thank you, Frank, for the lovely introduction, by the way, and thank you for having us here tonight. Hey, Karen. I had a Brownie box camera when I was a kid, and then when I met my husband-to-be when I was in high school, he gave me a Canon TLB because he was tech for Canon, and so we've been a Canon household ever since. And I've had various incarnations of Canon cameras over the years. I have dabbled a little bit with mirrorless with Sony and with Fuji, and I do use those as secondary cameras or travel cameras, but my main focus has always been with Canon, and right now I shoot with a Canon 5D Mark IV.
Okay, so but both you guys are Canon. There's a number of people still, with the Canons, and they've switched to that. Some have switched from Canons to Sonys now, so it's good to see you guys are still with that, because we do have a big investment with the lenses, so you don't want to be kind of just hopping from one brand to another, and because we always tend to lose a little bit of money on it. Now, what is your favorite lens, Karen?
For landscape, I've got a 24-70 version 2, which I absolutely adore. And for bird photography, I actually quite like the Sigma 150-600.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so you got the Sigma 150-600, and now with that, that's strictly your wildlife. Have you used that for landscape at all? Have you tried to use that for landscape?
No. It's not a landscape tool. Yeah, it's wildlife.
Yeah. Okay. Karoline, and how about you?
For wildlife, for the most part, I use my Canon 100-400 with a 1.4 extender. So that gives me a good amount of reach on a full frame camera. For things that are not quite as far away, I do love the 70-200. And when things are really close, then my go-to workhorse lens is my 24-105. For studio work, it kind of depends, but I do love my 100mm macro, and the 85 prime is also quite lovely. And for landscape, I have a 16-35. So I have quite a variety, and all the glass is so good. And it does, as you said, represent a major investment. So once you've made that, you don't want to, the camera body is almost secondary in a lot of cases. The glass is what counts.
Yeah. Now, in terms of accessories for your camera gear, what kind of travel bags do you both have? We start with you, Karoline, this time.
Never the right one.
So the question should have been, how many bags do you have?
that would be it. Yes, and I when we can travel, and for the most part, I generally don't take my big gear with me when I travel. So I have what I call my baby Fuji, which is a Fuji XT30. So that's pretty tiny. So it doesn't need a lot of bag space, and then I only have a couple of lenses for that camera. If I'm going to do a shoot somewhere, like a gymnastics shoot or whatever, I do have a think tank roller case that's really nice to put everything into. And yeah, you can roll it as long as you're not going over really rough ground.
Okay. And Karen?
I have to echo what Karoline said. I have not found the perfect camera bag. And what I have found, though, is something very handy. It's a cotton carrier. And I wear it as it's a front vest kind of arrangement where I hook my camera onto it.
Yeah.
And it's really snazzy. And I like the fact that it weights it to the front and kind of feel balanced. And I rarely leave home when I'm with a camera without that cotton carrier vest on.
Yeah, I know it. Bags are a big kind of a not a problem, but yeah, I guess it's a problem for photographers. Because you can never get the right one for each type of gear. I know myself. I do some time lapse, so I have a bag set up for time lapse with the camera gear, and then I got the wildlife, and so you tend to do all that. So nothing really kind of fits everything. You almost have to kind of specialize in that. The other question is when you travel, when you go away to travel. Now, do you go away specifically to do landscape and wildlife? What do you take with you to kind of cover that genre?
Who are we talking to?
You can start off, Karen.
Okay. Well, luckily we have a little travel trailer. So I throw a lot of stuff into that little travel trailer.
Okay.
But the 7200, I've got the 150 to 600, I've got the 24 to 70. Those are the three I would travel with.
Okay.
And then, yeah, and I've got the 1.4 extender as well if I need be. And yeah, it works out really well.
Okay. Now, in terms of software for editing your photos, Karoline, what programs do you use?
Primarily Lightroom. Download from the photo card into Lightroom, and then occasionally to Photoshop, depending on what is needed, if there's anything like layering needed or anything like that. I do like the new Topaz Denoise AI, and that is really pretty skookum for denoise and for sharpening and for clarity. Works quite well, and the latest version allows you to have the different modules all up on the screen at the same time, so you can see what each adjustment does, and then you can pick one and work from there. Other than that, yeah, those are basically the three that I use the most.
Yeah. Karen, and you?
Yes, the Lightroom Classic for photographers, the CCE for photographers. I have that set, and it definitely goes into Lightroom first. And I thought you might ask this, so I wrote down a few things here. Yeah, I go to Topaz Studio 2, where there's an AI Clear, which is another noise reduction software. I typically use that one at default setting. Then I go back into, it returns back to Lightroom. And oftentimes I use Topaz Studio because I'm a long time Topaz user, and they're very good to honor your contracts and give you the updates for free. And I really like the dramatic HDR, but I definitely use a lot of sliders when I adjust the sliders quite a bit. But I love that dramatic HDR in Topaz Studio. It just adds a structure, and it kind of does the dodge and burn for you. And then you can adjust it to your pleasure with that.
Yeah. I know. Everybody has their kind of favorite little tools and software that they use to edit their photos with, and I know there's a lot of the programs are coming out with this artificial intelligence, and they're kind of almost picking their best settings before you even kind of get at it. And a lot of times they're pretty good. I know in the chat, Mike, another photographer there, he uses that, I believe it's the Topaz one, and he really swears by it too. So, you know, there's some good stuff coming down the pipeline. So it's kind of nice to see people are trying and having good feedback on that. Now, in terms of gear, I mean, you know, sometimes we kind of think back and say, oh gosh, I wish I wouldn't have gotten this particular lens or this particular equipment. Is there anything like that you've come across, Karoline, that you kind of had a regret?
Not so much with camera gear, but with lighting. You know, for example, if I were to buy studio level strobes right now, as opposed to when I did a good 10, 15 years ago, I would definitely buy battery pack supported strobes. And they're a lot smaller, more powerful, and a lot more portable now. That I think I would like to have some of those. I have some continuous daylight balanced fluorescent lights that I don't use anymore. You know, those I only used minimally, and they could definitely go. I bought pocket wizards specifically for Canon. And back when I bought them, you know, that seemed like a really reasonable route to go, but I would prefer to have more generic ones so that I can put them on some of the other cameras that I've used. Now, in some configuration, I can make them work, but yeah, for the investment initially, it would have been smarter to go with a more generic radio trigger.
Yeah, that's good. And then just for the viewers that are watching there, we'll see some of Karoline's photos where she does use the lighting for some of her gymnastics and photography. So it's coming up. And Karen, what about you? What is there anything that you have regrets of buying?
Well, I think both Karoline and I bought a Rokinon lens one time.
Oh, okay.
I think we both sold them.
Yeah.
That didn't work very well. I did have the Sony A6000, and I did enjoy it. It's a little mirrorless camera, and I used it for travel photography. But I just found some of the focusing systems and some of the other things that about it a little bit too quirky for me. And then once again, I couldn't use my lenses, and the lenses that I was able to get for the Sony weren't as good as my Canon lenses, so I actually sold that off when I bought the R6.
Okay.
I had a Sony 6000 as well, and I really liked that little camera. It was a great little body, but it was frustrating because, again, at the time, the lens choice for Sony was quite limited. And, you know, when you're coming from Canon glass, it's really hard for other things to live up to that standard. And at the time, again, Sony's stuff just wasn't, unless you bought the really big lenses, and then you'd have this little camera body and this really big lens, which, you know, wasn't, that was more for travel. But I did like the Sony 6000, 6500.
Sony, yeah, I agree. I think I got some kind of adapter so that I could try it with my Canon lenses, but that adapter never worked really well. So once again, you know. Yeah.
Well, that's always, you know, like when new cameras come out and brands specifically, that's always the issue is what kind of lenses do they come with, you know, or available for them. And I know, thinking back, when I started into photography, I started off with a Pentax. And again, it was one of those things, they didn't have the lenses I wanted. So I switched very early on, I switched over to Nikon because I was able to have the choices. Now, Sony was the same scenario when they came out with their mirrorless. They didn't have very many lenses, and they were kind of pushing on with this wildlife photography, and so it took them a long time before they came out with the big stuff to get the lenses for the wildlife guys, and now it's starting to kind of take off. So that's what you need is definitely lenses will make the difference on any camera that's kind of coming out.
Absolutely. So. Yeah, so I switched from my Sony 6000, 6500. The 6500 I purloined from my husband for a while, but he wanted it back. So then I switched to this little Fuji X-T30, which was a good departure from the Sony in terms of its partly analog setting. So it's very different than some of the other mirrorless that I had used. Mm-hmm. And the lens selection was much broader, and their lenses are very good as well. There's a few quirks on the Fuji X-T30 that drive me nuts, and one of them is you can't lock the focusing point in place. It tends to wander, and the joystick that operates it on the back of the camera, it's really easy to press that inadvertently. So I have focus points that tend to jump all over, and that has been, I think, a general complaint about the Fuji. I don't know if the big XT Fujis have that as well. Maybe Larry or somebody who shoots Fuji would know. But on the X-T30, I have to say that drives me nuts.
Yeah, I know what Larry has that camera also, and his issue was with the batteries. Just the way it goes through juice. It's like you got to have it plugged in almost with you all the time, to follow you along.
Well, that is part of the problem with mirrorless on the whole. I don't know, Karen, how have you found the battery life on the R6?
Yeah.
So far, so good. Yeah, it's been fine so far.
Yeah.
But then I have my 5D Mark III battery, which works with it as well, so that if I need be, I can just take along the backup battery.
Yeah.
And so I don't foresee it to be a problem. It's been fine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I know we've got Dave Hutchison out there from Victoria, and Dave shoots mirrorless also, and I don't know if he can chime in to see how his I think he's got a Z7 now, how the battery life is in there. And so, because the mirrorless, there's so many more functions in there that they will draw the juices much quicker. And I know on the D4s and the D5s, even the D3s, when we used to go to Yellowstone, I'd have a battery in there. I could be there for a week out of 20 below weather and have that same battery, and then maybe at the end of that week is maybe down to maybe a quarter of the battery left. So the older ones were pretty good. So I don't know how the new mirrorless ones are going to be, faring through. So with all the kind of things that they put into them. But now I have a couple more questions. Is Karen, do you like to go to workshops? Do you attend workshops?
I have. Yes, I have. Mm-hmm.
Is there any special ones that you like to attend, or?
Well, belonging to the Delta Photo Club is there's a lot of opportunity there in terms of the workshops that are offered, and the workshop coordinators do such a great job of getting keynote speakers and workshop leaders. I'm talking about Karoline; she's part of that.
Oh yeah.
So that's been being a member of Delta Photo Club gives you access to a lot of workshop leaders. Mm-hmm. But I have gone to Vancouver Photo Works before, Aura McKay, and I enjoyed her workshop. Yeah. And I've done, I can't remember what else. I mean, a lot of it's just looking at YouTubes and looking at things online a lot of the time.
Yeah. Karoline?
The wealth of information and lessons that you can have on YouTube is astounding, and I find that quite often you can't work through this whole list that you accumulate about this lesson and that and whatever. In-person workshops are really nice to do, and I haven't done one for a while, but I'll look forward to lining something up maybe next year. Actually, next year, well, it's not really a workshop, but I do have a photo trip planned to photograph grizzly bears in the Kootzmatine. Okay. So I'm looking forward to that and hope that does come together. But yeah, we've been lucky with, relatively speaking, with the COVID thing. that the Delta Photo Club's workshops have been online via Zoom. And thanks, Karen, for that shout out. But we have been able to essentially span the globe almost with presenters. We've had people from Chicago, from Argentina, from PEI. Next month's presenter is from Colorado, and when we were meeting in person, we just couldn't do that range of and quality of presenter that we are now able to look at. So that's been pretty stimulating and pretty exciting. Mark Kogel at Vancouver Photo Workshops was always great, and I did take some other workshops through them. I did pay a whole whack of money once for a workshop with Jay Maisel. I don't know if a lot of people are familiar with him. Yeah. And, 3 days later, the only salient point that I came away from is don't have empty triangles in your corners.
Oh, boy. Yeah.
I mean, he was interesting, and he was quite a character, but yeah, for the money, I would have wanted to come away with a bit more. And what was really funny, a few years ago, I went to Churchill to photograph polar bears. I was
going to ask you about that. I knew that
and that was an amazing experience. And it was a photo tour. And so the workshop, the photographer leader was giving us a rundown on how to shoot Northern Lights, because that evening the Northern Lights were expected. And then he started talking about a workshop that he went to and the feedback that he got. And he said, and the guy just kept saying, don't have empty corners, don't have empty corners. And I said, was that Jay Maisel? And he went, yes. All these years later, he was still saying, I mean, granted, don't have empty corners unless you are, purposely including them. And that's a good piece of advice. But you'd hope after a 3-day, very expensive workshop to come away with a bit more than that. So I have been leery since then about big name workshops.
Well, I tend to agree with you a little bit there too, because sometimes you get the big names and it is just a big name. They've gone through and they may not be the greatest in terms of instructors, and so when you go there, you're expecting a lot, and that's always difficult because you pay a lot of money to go there, and to come away with don't have empty corners. That's not acceptable, almost. So it's a toughie. Now, so you're going to be going for the bears. Now, do you have any planned workshops to go to, Karen? Are you planning anything?
Not at this time, but actually I have a friend who's recovering from cancer right now, and we talked about the bears. Yeah. And she lives in Courtenay, so it would be one of the bear tours outside of Courtenay. Okay,
yeah. I know Dave Hutchison, he's in the chat also. Now, he does tours for the Kutskam, that long grizzly bear one that you're going to. I'm not sure if you're going with him or you're going with another group, but Dave does the bears there also. So, and that'd be cool to take in for sure. But the other thing, I'm just going to wind this up questioning here, is I always tell people to join photo clubs or organizations because that's how you really learn how to become a better photographer, by watching other photographers within the group and seeing their photos and getting ideas of how they do things. And that's the bonus of clubs. And sometimes I hear, I don't want to join a club because, this, that, and the other thing. But if you want to be a good photographer, you really need to go and share with other people your ideas, and then also get the feedback from them, so. But actually Dave he heard me, he commented he's not doing Coots any longer. Echo Bay, September 24th to 28th is what his tour is going to be. So so anyway, so listen, what I'm going to do is we're going to go over and look at some of your photos that you guys have sent in here. And what I'd like to do is you guys can comment. Let me just stop this. I'm going to back this up here. you guys can comment on there, but I'm going to put in a link into the chat. I've got room for 2 people to come in and watch the photos, and if you want to click on that, come on in and say hi, and we'll put you into one of these little circles. You can be 3 or 4. And I'm just going to make Karoline and Karen just a little bit bigger.
Ah.
There we go. Okay, so anyway, the link is out there in the chat. If you want to click onto it, you're welcome. Come in, and I'll include you to our chat. But let's start off with this photo. Now, this is an amazing photograph of this eagle. You know, it just how clear it is. You know, when I'm looking at it from the post right to the tip of its hair on the top of its head. So can you tell us about this one?
Well, this was one of my first images taken with the R6, and the R6 sensor is amazing. You know, and the eagle was along the road towards North 40 Dog Park. We know this is an area where there's lots of eagles at this time of year. And he just happened to be, but like what I liked about it was he was not necessarily on a telephone pole. It was something that was a bit more rustic. Mm-hmm. And hi, John.
Yeah, John. John's out there. Nice to see him. I haven't. Yeah. Oh.
Yeah, I can't. I should
have
get
somebody.
closer so I
Okay.
can see this better. Yes. Yeah. So I was just really happy, and it was a windswept day, and his feathers were kind of, you know, being pushed by the wind, and he just happened, you know, with the R6, it was like with the continuous shooting. So I was just fortunate to get that one, and I worked with it in post, and in a very similar way that I just talked to you about with the Topaz Studio version 2, getting the noise anti-noise software, and then onto the Topaz version 1, and doing the HDR drama, and just winding back the sliders quite a bit until I felt it was the way I wanted it. So and actually, this might have been a sky replacement one when I was able to get sky replacement in Photoshop.
I don't, you know, if you replace the sky, I wouldn't know, but there's nothing wrong with the way it is there. I thought it's a pretty cool image, and I don't know, people in the chat, what they can comment and let us know what they think about it. And we've got Wayne had just come in here. So any comments, Wayne?
Hi, Wayne.
Hi, Wayne.
I just turned it on. I haven't had a chance to really look at it, so maybe somebody else can make a comment.
Yeah. So I mean, Dave, if you're out there, I still have one more slot to come in. You're welcome to step in, but I'm going to move forward to the next image here. We know whose this is because we see you in the photo.
Yeah, this is obviously not my photo, but that's me saying hello to the whales. We live part-time on Galliano Island, and at the base of our property, we can go very, very close to the water's edge, and it's very, very deep there. It's about the midway point of Active Pass. And if it's a really good day, the orcas have come in from the west around Helen Point of Main Island, and they cut across to the shoreline on our side of Galliano, and they come right close to the shore. And so perspective-wise, that is maybe 8 feet at the most. No more than a couple of meters. Yeah,
that's just crazy.
And when you see the whales that close, you realize how big they are. Mm-hmm. I'm not a really big person. I'm only about 5'2".
Yeah.
And on certainly on some of the adult male orcas, their dorsal fin is taller than me by a foot easily. you know, and that's just their dorsal fin.
Yeah.
You know, they're incredible animals. So one of my most favorite things to do is to photograph whales, but sometimes they don't come that close. So then that's when you need the telephoto lens with a long reach.
Yeah, yeah.
But it also helps to have a second camera body with a wider angle lens to capture them when they do decide to come really close and snuffle in the kelp that's right around the rocks there.
That is cool. That is a cool photo to see, and especially being that close to them. And like you say, you realize how large they are when you get close to them. You know, everybody knows they're large animals, but even from a distance they look big. But when they're up close, they're massive animals. You know, it's cool to see that. You know, I know I've seen a lot of your photos from that point that. With the killer whales, and you know, you're so fortunate to be able to document them coming by, and they're probably having a look at you, and they're just waving at you, and you're waving at them. You know, it's just what a great shot. You know, so we got Dave came in now. He's also on. So welcome, Dave. Now, and you,
hey, Frank.
And you shot a nice killer whale photo last week. We saw. On yours, so what do you think of this one? Can you?
I think it's an interesting perspective too. Like it's that example of having that, if you've got that second camera body available with different focal length, and you can get something different. So yeah, no, I like the perspective, and I like it kind of just reminds me of, you know, could be like a nice editorial type of image. You know, like that type of feeling to me, where you've got the human element and the wildlife together.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I like it.
Okay, so let me just I gotta take it forward to the next one. Okay. So this one is, I believe it's Karoline's, and I know exactly where that is.
No, this is Karen's.
Oh, it's Karen? Oh, it's Karen.
Yeah.
That's what I meant. Karen.
And you know
yeah.
It's Cannon Beach.
Yeah.
Of course. And one of the challenges when you're doing landscape or travel photography is if you go to an iconic location like this, is what can you do to make it seem a little bit different, right? Unique and special. Well, it happens that some creative person did a ziggurat, and I thought, okay, the ziggurat and the monolith kind of, you know, they rhyme each other. So
yeah.
That's what happened.
Yeah.
And it was a very misty day. It was very misty, and I thought, okay, I think this deserves to be a black and white.
Yeah.
So I converted it to black and white.
No, I agree. I think it does kind of warrant that. I've got Mike's trying to come in here, and I've only got room for 2 people extra right now, Mike. So just give us a couple minutes. We'll get you in. Somebody will pop out. But yeah.
Well, I'll drop out and let Mike come in.
Okay. So he'll come in there. But
are you gonna? You'll hang me up.
Okay, I'll hang you up. I'll log you out. I won't hang you. I don't want to hang you. Okay, Mike, you can drop in there. But this one here, Karen, just to kind of continue on, I like that low perspective. You know, that along that sand, and you're looking out and seeing all those people, you know, along that shoreline, and it's just you can see the depth, the layering of this image. You know,
Thanks. Yeah, it was fun to make.
The upper half of that image would make a lovely panorama all on its own.
Yes. Yeah. That is such a great place to go photograph. You know, I mean, Tina and I, we probably would be down there. We would have been down there probably half a dozen times this year already. Like, we spent so much time down in that Oregon coast along that seashore there. That it's such a great place to go, and you know, you never get kind of tired of it. You know, so Yeah, and even Francis was saying it's a great picture, Karen. You know,
Thanks, Francis.
Yeah, so now we've got a spot for Mike to come in. He can drop in, but let's go. And any other comments on that photo, Dave? Anything to say?
No, I like that it's a different perspective too. Like what Karen was saying is that, you know, these iconic locations, sometimes it can be challenging to do something different. And yeah, this works. Yeah, it tells a story, and that, you know, it's not something that you usually see at Haystack Rock.
Yeah.
So yeah,
okay.
I like that. I like that component to it for sure.
Now, I put the link out there again. Francis, if you want to click on, you're welcome to. Mike, if you want to click on, you're welcome to. But I got one spot available there. So let's go on to the next image here. And now we're getting into some dance photography from Karoline, I believe.
So quite a few years ago, I watched a video done by Benjamin Wong, and it featured a couple of dancers, and the stills that came out of that had a lot of motion blur. And so I decided that that was just a wonderful, wonderful effect, and started working on, when I can't be outside photographing wildlife or nature, that I can do studio work. And I coached competitive gymnastics for many, many years with Delta Gymnastics, who are now in Ladner. And so they were very kindly over the years allowed me to come into the gym, set up lights, set up backdrop, borrow gymnasts away from their regular training, who were, you know, quite willing models, and who were willing to go, oh, can you do that again? Can you do that again? Can we do that again? So it was really wonderful to be able to work with them and not be hampered about trying to catch the one movement just, and only have one opportunity to do that, as you would when you're covering a competition. And so this was one of my first motion blur rear curtain sync photos that I made, and I was really happy with the way it turned out. And I've been playing with that quite a bit ever since.
I see that, yeah. Now, this wasn't one of those ones where you take a shot, kind of continues shooting. It was just one shot with the motion, with the dancer coming through.
Yeah. Okay, so the exposure time, I don't recall offhand, because this was done quite a while ago. But yeah, it's open the shutter, and then just before the shutter closes, the flash fires, so that you capture the movement at the end.
Yeah, it's cool. It's a great shot to see that motion kind of come through. It's almost like the chalk that they use for their hands and gymnasts use. So it's very cool. Yeah, great shot.
Since then, I did that in a very convoluted way, and since then I have figured out that manually firing the flash, as long as you can anticipate the gymnast or the dancer's movement, works better than trying to figure out how long of exposure, how much movement they should have before the flash fires. So there are definitely easier ways to do this type of photography than how I started out. So it was a good learning process. And I'm looking forward to going again to do some work with some dancers in this. But the tricky part is that you need a totally dark environment. And so there aren't very many places, unless you shoot at night, that you can have, you know, and you need quite a bit of space, because they're moving. It's not just like a single backdrop for a portrait or something like that. Lots to play with still.
Yeah, no, it's I see that. You know, I mean, it's a lot of learning. It's a learning curve. You know, and I know out in the we've got Clifford Chow. He's from Chungai Photo Club. He's out in the chat there also. And I don't know if Clifford, if you want to make a comment, what your thoughts are on the image would be greatly appreciated. But yeah, it is, and I love that motion, and it's just that black and white. It's so well done. Yeah. Okay, so any comments, Dave?
Yeah, I wasn't sure if it was a multiple exposure until Karoline explained it. So I like it. I think you did a good job.
Yeah.
Like, I think it's effective and kind of communicates the motion. But yeah, I wasn't sure if it was a single shot or multiple shots. So I'm glad that you explained it, Karoline.
Yeah, Clifford was just saying, it was a great shot too. So it's cool, very cool.
Thanks, Clifford.
Yeah. Okay, and we're just gonna move forward just a hair again. So, okay. Yeah.
That's me.
That's you. Tell us about this photo.
I only had the R6. Yeah, I only had the R6 for what, a month and a half? I can't remember exactly. But this was, I live in Boundary Bay. I'm very fortunate to live in Boundary Bay. I'm within 100 steps of the ocean. And thanks, Francis. And there they were, there were some sandpipers, and this happened to be a greater yellowlegs. And I just got low, and I actually sat on a log and just kind of waited and tried to be, not move too much. And once again, with the continuous speed, it just helps a lot. And I saw this beautiful reflection. I thought, oh, let's see if that's going to work, and it did. And I really enjoyed this image. I think it just captures the beauty of the animal in a graceful pose.
It is, and you're correct. I mean, it's a beautiful image, and what I like about it is the way it's kind of offset, but yet it's centered. With that silhouette is centered, but the bird is offset, so it just gives it lots of room to go in. It's crispy sharp. And again, when you look at it, it's very well done. I love the border around the image. It just it's just a very well captured, Karen. You've done that, and it suits that black and white coloring.
It's a wonderful image, and one of the things that I get from it is because it was so calm, and the reflection is so undisturbed that I can just sort of feel what it must have been like to be sitting on the log, and it's all really quiet and calm, and you're just watching these birds. To me, it's very evocative.
It has to be really, really calm out, because the bottom image is so clear too. There's not a ripple, in this image. So it's very, very well done shot here. So
thanks for the feathered friend who posed for me.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Okay, so, and we've got another one here from Karoline. What do we got up here, Karoline?
This image I used in 2019. I don't know if your followers, Frank, are aware of a photography gallery that opened in late 2019 in Sydney, BC, just across the pond from us here on the Lower Mainland. The New Photographers Gallery, it's run by a fellow named Al Cahoot. And he's just an avid photographer who really wanted to own a photography gallery. And I met Al on Galiano Island, where I had done an exhibit of orca photography in the local bakery. And he said, oh, would you be one of my inaugural photographers for my gallery when I open it? And so I titled the exhibit Shore Scene. This is probably one of my most favorite whale shots of all times, because you can see how close to the shore they were.
That's incredible.
Yeah, because you can see some of the grasses growing. So, grasses don't grow very tall. And how closely they swim together. and how they just sort of come, the texture of just under the sunlit water is just wonderful. So so I did this exhibit, and it ran for 2.5 months at the New Photographers Gallery. Unfortunately, last year was pretty tough for Al and his gallery, but it's still open, and he's had quite a range of photography exhibits and subject matters. And I don't know if Dave is familiar with that gallery, or if he knows Al even.
Yeah, I know Al. Yep.
Yeah. So
I remember seeing your exhibit there.
Oh, there you go.
There you had a viewer. Yeah. Good.
Yeah. I mean, I was honored that Al asked me, and it was an amazing experience for me to put together an exhibit specifically for a photography gallery. I learned a lot through that whole process. And it was pretty reasonably well received as well. So that was pretty nice.
Yeah. When you look at that photo, Karoline, it just, again, see how close those whales are swimming. And it's like the birds, and that kind of murmuring that they do, and they don't hit each other. It's amazing that these guys don't run into each other, being so close also, when they're swimming and diving and doing whatever the whales do, it's now just looking at that, is that barnacles on the kind of the dorsal or that fin near the surface?
No, I think that's just a water ripple. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Generally the orcas don't have barnacles growing on them the same way that humpbacks do.
Yeah. Okay.
They keep however they do pretty clean. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's gorgeous. Yeah. Great capture. Okay.
So, as I was saying, with landscape photography and iconic landscapes, so it is with birds. So you try to, in my opinion, it's important to try to find a unique thing or unique behavior or unique posturing or whatever about the animal to make it a little bit more interesting than just a bird on a stick, although this is a bird on a stick.
Quite a few sticks.
Yeah. And, this kind of breaks the rules in that you don't see its eyes really well. But it was it's just displaying the animal and it in all its majestic feathering and so on. And it just had eaten a vole, I think, and it was just flying away. And I just happened to be in a spot, and I stayed in the spot and just kind of waited for all that to unfold. And then it did this nice gesture, and I went, okay, snap, let's go for that.
That's wildlife photography, is you just have to wait for the moment. And I do like this shot because you can catch that light goes through its feathers. You can see how thin everything is, and so it's nice to see that light, and it's, you've exposed it so well, especially shooting into the sky. It's very difficult, with it being backlit. So.
Is that a rough-legged hawk pal there, Karen?
I believe so.
Yeah, the under markings on its wings, those are beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
and
really
today
is,
we went to rifle for the first time in a year today, and I was hoping to see some saw-whats. Caroline, I didn't see them.
Oh,
they weren't there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we'll have to go next week.
Yes. And I talked to one of the volunteers. He says sometimes they're there, sometimes they're not. It was one of those days, but there were lots of other lovely animals, like lovely feathered friends. And on the way, when I left rifle, there were the field of snow geese.
Oh,
and then
really?
as I continued on, there was a rough-legged hawk that was sitting. And I'm sitting on a tree branch. I'm going like, I pulled my car into, people know where that field is on the way to Rifle, where the snow geese typically are. And I took a couple of pictures of the snow geese. Then I got my car, and then I went along the back trails heading home, and there was one of those hawks, and he was just perched beautifully with a nice, like lovely background. That's the other thing, is watch your backgrounds and make sure the backgrounds are attractive and not interfering with the subject. And so I got quite a few shots from my car.
yeah. And sometimes that's the best place is just right from the car, because as soon as you get out, they get spooked. They're used to cars going by,
for sure.
They're used to the cars going by, but it's just being in there. A lot of times it's you're way better off and get some good shots in there. But I really do like that. It's just the way the light kind of comes through its wings, and it just shows how delicate these birds are. They may look large and kind of massive, but very delicate when you see the light come through its feathers. It's yeah.
Thanks.
And I'm just move it ahead here again. And I've got the link in there, Francis. If you want to join us, you can hit that link. Or Clifford, if you want to join us. Mike is having problems logging in for some reason, but I've got one more slot in there for anybody that wants to kind of come in on the chat. Now this one here, again, Karoline and her magic of flash photography is coming a long ways now. This is amazing.
Oh, thanks, Frank. This particular lighting technique, I guess Joel Grimes is one of the biggest proponents, is two strong lights from the side. It gives you a lot of the dark center through the middle of the person or the image, but it really helps illuminate and bring forth the musculature and the texture of a really well-trained body. This was a little bit of a challenge because, of course, he's working on the rings that are like, I don't know how many feet off the floor. So yeah, the strobes were popped up on the light stands as high as we could put them, and had to have people helping hold them and so on and so forth. And then when you're trying to hold, this athlete is amazing, and it's sort of like, no, don't move just yet, don't move, and it's sort of like, are you kidding me? Yeah.
Wow.
But it was remarkable because the strength that it takes to do this kind of maneuver is astounding, and I really wanted to be able to show the strength and the strain that it takes to hit that pose.
Oh,
it's a stunning image.
Yeah.
It really is.
Okay, so yeah, it is amazing, to see that, and I was going to ask you about how high those the strobes are, because these guys are quite a ways up in the air. So you've just extended them, and now is there a timing when he's flipping around, or does he stop when you take this shot?
Amazingly, he can hold this pose, but when gymnasts are competing, when they hit a still position on the rings, they have to hold it basically for 1, 2, 3. So, hopefully your strobes cycle fast enough to get 1, 2, 3, at least, shots done before he moves on. Yeah.
Okay.
And because it takes such amazing strength, you can't ask them to repeat it too often. They will do it a few times in training, but yeah, it's really hard on a body to try and do that particular type of maneuver repeatedly.
Yeah. Well, this is where your experience comes in, having all your equipment ready to go, have knowing your settings, what you're going to be starting with, and be able to do that minute adjustments as you're needed, because these guys do get tired. They'll do it a few times, but then as things start getting a little shaky, and so it's that's pretty cool. Pretty cool. Okay, so next we can move on here. It looks like people are having problems logging in for some reason. I don't know why, but they can't log in. Yeah. Looks like someone's giving a hug.
Well, that's what I call this image. I call it the hug. And once again, it's finding that shot of animals that is a little bit unique, or they're doing something unique or special or heart touching. And yeah, we were very lucky. This one mother hummingbird set a nest in a monkey puzzle tree at the secret garden, and I was walking with my dog, and I live like a block away from the secret garden, and I was walking with my dog, and I ran into the fellow who runs the secret garden, or who manages it and has created it, and he said, "Karen, there's hummingbirds in the monkey puzzle tree." I went, "What?" Because he knows I take pictures, right? I've made some art cards and donated and so on to Brian at the secret garden. And I ran back, I got my big lens, and I let my friend Caroline know about that too.
Thank you. Yeah, that was a treat. Yeah.
And the mother, after these were getting pretty close to fledging, because they're getting pretty big, and they're gonna, they're stretching their wings and standing up and doing a little fluttering and so on as they're getting ready to fledge. And after they fledged, shortly after, she put another nest in the same monkey puzzle tree.
Oh, okay.
And,
really? Another one right after
that? A sequel.
Yeah. Wow.
Did two of them.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah, it is amazing. And it's cool because it's almost kind of monochromatic photo here, but it's always, when you look at a wildlife, it's that something that touches you, and this one here definitely touches everybody, Yeah. And these are the kind of shots that wildlife photographers look for. So very well done. I call it the farewell hug.
I call it the farewell hug.
Yeah.
Because the siblings are going to fledge very shortly after this.
Oh, okay. No, it was really neat. And we have somebody swimming upside down here.
Yes, whales will swim on their backs, and I call this image backstroke. One of the things that because of the unique spot that I can photograph the whales from, I also like to contribute as best as possible to doing some citizen science and sending images and reports of behavior and time, direction, number of orcas and whatever to some of the orca observation sites, like the Center for Whale Research that's based down on Whidbey Island, or in the San Juans. I guess it's Whidbey Island. No, it's in the San Juans. Yeah. And so, this one is fairly unique just because of the lovely colors that are reflected from the sky in the water. And then the orca doing its backstroke. So I like the spray of the water
and from the fins.
Yeah. So my orca photos are from a very narrow window. So unlike, because they're shot from land, and the whales go by, and it's it could be 5 minutes, it could be 2 minutes, it could be 20 minutes. That's my window of opportunity, as opposed to people who are photographing from a boat who can travel along with the orcas. Presents a whole other level of photography experience and opportunity and whatever. So this is
and challenges.
Yeah, no, it definitely does. So Mike just came in here. Okay, so Mike, you're able to log in from sounds of it. Can you hear us? I think now you got the mic turned off or something. Oh, wait a sec. Hold on. You muted the mic, Mike, so can you put it back? Unmute yourself.
I can hear you.
Okay, you can hear us. Okay, good. Okay, we'll continue on. But you know what, Karoline?
I thought the show was over by now, the time I got on.
No, that's too bad you had a problem logging on here. But Karoline, this photo reminds me the place we go down in Costa Rica, they have the whales, killer whales come in, and the humpbacks and everything. The owners had a boat going, and then the killer whale was right smack beside them. The boat was, streaming down the ocean there, and the killer whale's coming up, jumping in and out of the water, keeping up with the speed of the boat. And I was just amazed at how fast these whales can swim.
They can.
Yeah, it just, you always kind of see them just slowly going, but when they put on the old steam, they can really move, and that video just kind of blew me away. Mike, you've got your speaker on for your YouTube. So just...
they can.
Yeah, it just, you always kind of see them just slowly going, but when they put on the old steam, they can really move. You're falling asleep there.
There's feedback.
yeah, he's got it. What it is usually people watching the YouTube, they'll have the speaker on the YouTube, and then they have watching us also, so you get that feedback. But yeah. Okay, so let me just move this ahead. Okay.
Try to get that iconic shot and make it a bit different and unique.
And
With
what cactus is this? Can you do?
This is a Joshua tree.
Oh, okay. That's what the Joshua tree looks like. Okay.
Yeah. So we got the Joshua tree, we got the Joshua tree reflection, and we got the moon, and that's all taken at dusk.
Oh wow!
It was quite an effort to get that shot because where we were camped was probably an hour and a half from this location, even though we were fairly close to the entrance to Joshua Tree National Park.
Okay.
Before you get to where there's a place where you actually have a few trees, it's quite a long drive. So yeah, and the desert lights are in Cryaba.
Yeah.
I love the desert, the evening, the dusks. Yeah.
The colors are definitely, you can tell it's just the colors, desert colors they're amazing. The way they play around in the mountains, the colors, and it's just very cool. And I just like it because, like you say, you've got the moon in the top there. You've got the cactus. It's just and the colors. It's just such a nice kind of a warm feeling color. Add to it. So, anything to say, Mike?
Am I still on?
You're still on. I got you. Yeah.
No, it's a beautiful shot. No, I love the colors too. Is that morning or is that? Oh, I guess that would be.
Still on? You're still on. I got
That's
you.
dusk.
Or sunset.
Yeah, it's dusk.
Is that morning or is that? Oh, I guess that would be
evening.
Yeah.
That's dusk.
Or sunset.
Yeah, you still have the mic on for the YouTube channel, Mike. It's kind of feeding through.
It's dusk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I don't, Frank.
It's feedback's coming through somewhere. So, okay.
Okay.
Next one. Next photo. Okay.
We're back into the gym again. Unlike the previous shot where that pose was held on the rings, this is capturing a moment with the strobe flash because pommel horse is done generally in motion, right? So he's doing these double leg circles going around and round and round, and so it's just a matter of timing. Again, it's pretty much that side and side lighting. Fabulous set of ab muscles there, and
that's just like mine,
there we go. Yeah. So I just like the frozen motion that this had. I've never tried motion blur with pommel horse. Maybe the next time I go back into the gym, I'll have to try that.
Well, like I say, I'm amazed at how sharp it is. It's just like you've just captured it. So do you remember what kind of settings you had on this?
Well, it had to be within flash sync because it wouldn't have necessarily been high-speed sync. So, the 1/60th, maybe 200. I can't quite remember.
Yeah.
Reasonable aperture setting because it's not too shallow.
His pants almost look like it's HDR.
I could see why you would think that, and perhaps that came out with a little bit of the processing in black and white. But yeah, it wasn't shot as HDR. It would be almost impossible to shoot a movement in HDR.
Yeah. Now, where was the light, the strobe on here? Was it shooting towards
There's
him?
two. There's two. There's one from the left and one from the right.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, very well done. Well captured. It's just amazing what these guys can do.
Oh yeah, they are so strong.
Yeah.
And such form. Yeah.
And I know we've got a bunch of people out there watching, so if you're enjoying everything, please make sure you hit that like button to help our Mr. YouTube analytics work a little better for us, so to help us in the future. So don't forget to hit that like button. Now, this one again it's got a lot of things happening in here. Karen, explain this to us.
Okay, this was taken. I've always wanted to go to a powwow, and we happened to be in Yuma. This was a travel in our traveler trailer. We had journeyed down south. We happened to be in Yuma for a week, and I noticed some signs saying advertising the powwow. So we went to the powwow, and whilst the color is incredible of their costuming, of their traditional wear, it just makes it for such a complex image with all the color. So I just decided to go into silver effects and change it into black and white.
Yeah, wow. And sometimes that color is really difficult to photograph. When you get a lot of color, it's very difficult to photograph. And I think that's where the black and white really comes in. When there's too much color, you can kind of simplify it. And it's just, it works so well with this. And you can see the motion in those fine feathers and in there and their feet and yeah, it's just it's very, very well done. Very interesting image.
Shot.
Yeah. And it's busy, but it's very interesting. Your eyes are kind of going through and exploring through it. So the whites are all about the same level, so there's nothing really that kind of catches your eye and wants to kind of take it away from there. So it's yeah, great.
Thank you.
Okay, now we've got this guy up higher again. It just I guess that you were quite a ways away from him on this one.
It's the same shot. I think that I just sent you one that was more closely cropped to the aspect ratio that you had asked. Okay. So yeah, the one that we discussed before was the same shot, just cropped in a little closer. I actually like it a little further back, but I wasn't quite sure of the parameters for your slideshow. So
yeah. No, I mean I can take anything pretty well, make it fit. Need be, I can kind of recrop it a little bit, but this worked in there, so good. Okay, so we got. Okay. Now again, this has got some color in it, and I think it's pretty iconic.
Yes.
I'm jealous. I'm jealous.
Oh,
wow.
Yeah.
Hard to get into Moraine Lake. In the Canadian Rockies.
What time of morning did you have to head in here to be here?
Well, we tried to get in at 6 o'clock in 2019, I think. Yeah, 2019. It was in the fall. It was in September after the kids went back to school. This was another travel trailer trip. And at 6 o'clock in the morning, the parking lot was full. So we motored, I know. So we motored up to Lake Louise. And I was very sad because when I was 16 years old, I worked at Lake Louise at Deer Lodge in the cafeteria.
Yeah.
Some of the, kind of really neat thing for a 16-year-old kid to be doing, and hiking and horseback riding and all the wonderful activities of that area. And it wasn't quite, when I was 16, it was more pristine than it is now, and less inundated with tourists. But yeah, and I thought, if you leave after the kids have gone back to school, it's not going to be that crowded, but it was. Yeah. All the Europeans were renting their motorhomes and so on. So yeah,
it looks like it's shot with a
coming back
polarizer.
Yeah. Was it with a polarizer, Karen?
No.
No.
I probably had to do it in post, whatever I did. Yeah, you're right.
That lake is pretty well that color, Mike.
I know they're pretty beautiful up there.
Yeah, it's pretty well that color.
Beautiful.
So we climbed the Beehive to get that perspective, and when we were coming back from Lake Louise to watch the sunrise, I should say, at Lake Louise, then all of a sudden took a look at the turnoff to Moraine Lake, and they were letting cars in, so we snuck in at that point. Yeah. And
Yeah. I know. I think I was probably there around the same time you were, and I had the same thought. After the summer, when the kids go back to school, and the rooms at the Best Western were still like $350 a frickin' night, and I couldn't even get close to this, and I started early in the morning, and so I thought, man, oh man, so maybe this year, if the things open up again, we might have a better chance of getting in before all the Europeans come and hit us again, But this is
going to be very busy. All the Canadians are going to be camping.
Well,
and we got the last campground site in Lake Louise. Yeah, and they have I don't know, 500 or whatever.
Yeah, they got tons in there. Yeah, so I've always wanted to take a shot like this, and I just haven't been able to get to it to do it. I love all the mountains in there with they're so tack sharp and the colors and this makes a great cover for a magazine. It's just a great cover photo. So. Yeah,
after all I said about try not to get the iconic shot so iconic, well, hey.
No, it was an incredible image here, So very well done and handled.